Hey everybody, welcome to the Bullhooker Podcast. I'm Moose Lundstrom.
I'm Adam Vokey.
Michelle Staley.
And I'm Dencia Kudrin.
Hey, and welcome to the second part of our favorite stories of 2021. So, this isn't a typical podcast. If you'd like to check out any of our podcasts, you can check it out on bullhooker.com or on any platform, whatever you watch or listen to your podcasts on. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button, that little red button on the right bottom hand corner of your screen. Little click for you, big click for us. So,
Hey, Larry, I was just going to say, your podcast, I'm not going to lie, I'm real surprised it's so good.
It is very good. Hey, you don't suck as bad as we thought you did.
I'm like, no.
I look for the backhanded insults at every point in time. Like, I know how it goes, like, to a point where my self-esteem kind of gets high, and then you punch me in the mouth. That's what it goes.
We've been through a lot together.
Here's a quick story of how this happened. So, when I went to Vegas, I took my mother back in
I love that you took your mom.
I do too.
Yeah, well, it was her. She always wanted
Ty,
to go.
if you're listening.
She's always wanted to go. So I said for Christmas one year, that's what we're doing. We're going to go hang out in Vegas, you and I. So she went to bed. I go gambling. I wake up. Or I go back to the room. I pass out. Long story short, I need to go down to the desk and get batteries for the remote to turn the damn TV off, right? That's a different story. As I'm walking down, I got some basketball shorts on. I got the Under Armour sandals on with socks, right? And a T-shirt. I have the no one's ever going to have sex with you outfit on. And as I'm walking down, this beautiful black woman approaches me and strikes up a conversation.
Wow.
And I'm like what
she
you see,
like
honey?
her, this kind of guy.
Yeah,
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I like it.
I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing? Kind of shit. And then she's like, do you need someone to come tuck you in? I'm like, oh, hooker.
Oh.
Stupid.
No, I'm sharing a room with my mom.
And I only have $10.
Yeah. No, my mom can take care of that.
I don't know, she wants grandkids. Are you fertile? I don't know. She'll overlook it. She'll sleep on her side.
Are you saying there's a grandkid in the future?
There's a chance.
Anyway, as soon as I figured out that it was a hooker doing her job and not someone who was interested in me, because my self-esteem was like, I should live here, That's how I feel right now, Michelle. When you start praising me for something, I'm like, get to the shitty part.
You're like just an abused child.
I know.
Like our arm comes up to like fix our hair and you're like squinching.
Not again in the face, mama. So anyway, well, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. So, and it's been a fun podcast. We've had 10, but counting me, 10 of us have co-hosted one of these. So
nice.
I actually have these stats. Did you look at them when I?
No, I didn't. Honest. I grabbed my phone and started playing like creepy.
All right, we're going to do the stats after we're done. So, also, we have 4. We've all picked one episode, and a 5th episode was a Susan Koser. Susan Koser, I reached out to you to see what your favorite episode was, or your favorite story, rather, and you let me know. So we're going to do that one very last. So thank you, Susan Koser.
Nice.
And why are we picking on Susan Koser? Susan, she leaves a comment on every episode. She, honest to God, guesses. And Susan, God love
bless you. God
You're
bless
almost
you,
as bad as
Susan.
I am at this. So
Did you figure up her stats too?
I did not. I should
Oh,
have.
darn.
2022, Susan. Keep
It's
watching.
Your year.
Michelle was onto something with this podcast.
Right. So,
Are you going to have Susan on?
you know what?
Hey.
I should reach out to Susan Koser and see if she wants. I hope so. I'm saying Koser right. You think I am?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, cool. All right. So we have 4 stories. If you watched the last episode, we had a great time. I really enjoyed it. And I will say this. I said it last time is, for me, this was super hard. Just for the fact that there was so many, and I have a few honorable mentions I want to bring up of stories I really, really loved at this podcast. It was hard to go down to 2. The one I told you why I picked the last one. When we get to mine this time, I'll tell you exactly. This one for sure made my list no matter what, because this one came out of right field. So, Dencia, you want to start this off?
The names, the titles?
Yep.
I sure do. Okay, we have Billy, and short story about a little date I had, a middle schooler's Halloween, and the goat.
Okay, Dencia, pick one of those stories out.
Well, I'm just going to start at the top with Billy.
Billy.
Okay.
Billy.
Michelle, that was your pick. All right. Well, you know what?
Got legs.
Yeah.
She knows how to use them.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So, hey, check out this
Throw
clip.
them off, so we'll see.
I'm going to take the real basic story of Billy.
Billy.
Billy. All right. So when we moved to back to Colorado from Missoula, I was working for Verizon Wireless, and I worked down at the 16th Street Mall store. Now that store was kind of interesting because it there was no family plans or anything. It was all the people that owned the building next door and the people that slept under the building next door. So there was nothing in between in that area. So one day, it was probably, I don't know, in the evening or something like that, I'm working, and one of my employees who was right next to me was finishing up with a customer, and I was finishing up with a customer, and they finished, and the next guy stepped up, and I'm finishing up, and the guy comes up and he goes, yeah, my name's William Gibbons. I need you to look up my information. And I was just like, just finishing that customer, I was like, you're Billy Gibbons. You're Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah. And he had the, the weird beanie hat thing on it and everything like it. And I said, you're the Billy Gibbons rock and roll. You're Billy Gibbons. And he goes, I'm a Billy Gibbons. So he had his, Texas accent and stuff like that. And I said, I will help him. This is Mr. Gibbons. He will come over here. So I'm talking to him like, and back then everything was local and it was regional, and he needed a new phone number and he needed a Texas number. So I'm like, man, this is going to take a couple hours, right? We have to get a hold of national customer service, and they got to activate it, and then I got to give them all the information and all that other stuff. So he's like, well, is there a good place to eat? And I said, yeah, there's the Rialto Cafe right across the street. It's a decent place, You can go eat there, and then, I'll get everything taken care of for you. So he ended up going across the street. He comes back, and he brings, like, a gift card for, like, $200 to take my employees out. Oh, nice. And he has his phone that's just like the new one that we're getting him. And he said, hey, can you transfer all these contacts? And I'm, like, zipping through his contacts. I'm like,
John stealing numbers.
oh, my gosh. Like, it's every great musician, actor, whatever. And I kept calling him Mr. Gibbons.
Of course.
Call me Billy. And I'm like, sorry.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't
I'm
call
not
you
going to
Billy.
do that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Right.
So
Maybe if you're Ted Nugent, I'd call you the Nuge, but that's as far as that goes. Yeah.
he's got a lot of nicknames.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, so he's going through his I'm like, oh my gosh. And he's like, can I, we take it to a machine in the back and transfer all the information. And he's like, can I stand here with you to make sure that none of this information gets out? And I said, I would never do that to you, Mr. Gibbons, but yes, absolutely, come with me. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like, I was just like,
That would be crazy,
I plug one
wouldn't
in
it?
and plug the other one. He goes, oh, let me see this. Let me show you this. He pulls up and he goes, I got 5 phone numbers for Farrah Fawcett. He goes, oh my God, I love Farrah Fawcett.
He has 5 numbers for
He has
Farrah.
5 different phone numbers
She
for
was
Farrah
giving him the
Fawcett.
wrong number. Did
Yeah,
you see that?
no.
He's all, which one's the right? Maybe this one's the right one.
Yeah, so he was like really good friends with her and all this stuff. He goes, oh, I love Farrah Fawcett. I mean, it's like, that's like the level of people
Yeah.
that were,
That's nuts,
on there
dude.
back then. And so I was like, hey man, I asked him what he was doing in town. He had written a book or something, and they were doing a book signing right around the corner of Barnes and Noble. So sat down, was doing all the book signing stuff, and he said, I'm here for a couple of days. I said, hey, I've got this, in all the guitar magazines, they would have like the pullouts of just, basically centerfolds of guitar players.
Right. Sure.
Fully clothed. And I said, hey, I got one of you, Duff and Duff. I said, I'm going to bring it in. If you happen to have time, if you come back and sign it for me, that'd be cool. Right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, he's probably not going to remember. He's busy or whatever. But the next day I was working, it was there. He didn't show up. Then the next day off, so I was just like, hey, I told my manager, I said, hey, if Billy Gibbons comes in here from ZZ Top, give him this and see if he'll sign that for me. And he goes, what? Because he hadn't heard the story. So he
Yeah,
was like,
yeah.
right,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, whatever.
And if a monkey flies out of the sky, I'll let you know that too.
I'll get
He's
the
like-
shit on this.
He's
And
like, you've been working too hard. I'm like,
He's
no,
like,
seriously. So he actually came back the next day and then signed it for me and to John, Billy Gibbons.
Very cool.
And he doesn't sign a lot of stuff, so he personalizes everything. But he's
Got that
like,
bad
"To
boy
John."
framed and hung up somewhere? Or
I
you
do.
Have
I have
in
it down. Have it down in my basement.
Nice.
Yeah.
that's very cool.
Yeah, and so, but he was just like, the nicest human being you can imagine.
All right, so that was Billy. That was from our man John Sherman, your cousin.
My other cousin, John Sherman.
And I think that was the newest episode. Allie was the newest episode, but I think Allie was a little too new for that. Sorry, Allie. So, 2022, babe. 2022.
you.
So, but why'd you pick that one?
It was just an interesting story, and I don't know, maybe because John's my cousin, but
Oh,
no.
that's true.
No. Just to meet, people in music or superstars or any movie stars or anybody like that. I mean, you just never know who you're going to, like how they're going to be. And he just seems so cool, and he's a legend. And I just, just thought it was cool.
Right.
And he was just so laid back about stuff and not pompous at all. He could have had somebody else go in and try to, handle his cell phone business, but
Right.
yeah, I just thought it was cool. Not everybody can say they met Billy and have a picture of them hanging in their house, which
Right. And got along with him. Had such a great story.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dancia?
Well, I love the fact about that Farrah Fawcett had 5 numbers or whatever
Yeah,
it was.
yeah,
That
phone
was so
numbers.
funny. Like, why do you have 5 numbers?
Billy,
Like,
it wasn't her real number. That's how us
I'm
ladies
like,
work.
let's be real. She's cool. She's an icon, but she's kind of a has-been. You know what I mean? So, like, the fact that she's
Definitely
like,
a has-been.
I still need 5 numbers.
She's not here
y'all."
anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, she did pass away. Didn't
She's
she?
a has been.
She died?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, she had cancer. Yes, is that what she passed? Cancer.
Yeah.
But 5 numbers. But at that point, at that time, even in the early '90s, she would have been.
True.
She was an attractive woman till the end. I mean.
Yeah, she's
wasn't she?
gorgeous. Mhm.
Yeah.
I was like, I need 3.
I mean, I had her poster in my room. Just saying.
It's the one with her perfect smile when she's kind of leaning
Yeah.
over. Yeah, everybody did.
Mhm, right by Bo Derek.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was great.
I won't even tell you how I figured out who Bo Derek was. That's a story for another time. Anyway, I'd also like the Billy episode. I liked how he told it. He had a pretty good episode, actually. John,
Yeah,
all in all.
he's a good story, like good storyteller. Like,
Right.
But he said he always wanted to do radio, and like he knew so much stuff about music. I was like, why am I even here?
Right, right.
I'm sorry, do you want my job? Yeah.
Yeah. And he's such a music. What do they call it? Music file. It's,
Like a
he loves
buff?
music. Yeah, he's a music fan for sure. So I mean, I don't know. You would recognize the ZZ Top guy, but I wouldn't be able to. I couldn't have told you his name.
No, the
Right.
fact that he knew like the last name too. I
Yeah.
didn't even
Yeah.
know their first names. I thought they were all just ZZ
Beard
Top.
guy,
Yeah.
beard guy.
Yeah.
Like
Not
if
very
it
good.
came in, I'd been like, she got laid.
I would have like this. Welcome to our store.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
You got
Adam?
out your guitar.
Yep.
The part about that story I really like that really caught me was going through the contacts. Just in my mind, I was thinking, what,
Right.
whose phone number's in there?
Yeah.
That's the part
I'm
that.
all, I got Larry Lundstrom.
The fat guy from the shitty podcast.
Wow. Hey, why does he have one?
If you swap it to the left, it'll erase it for you.
And Adam Bokey. Oh, that's because I was wanting to get the back shaver information. We were going to text each other.
Right. No, it was a good episode. I really, and I'm glad we finally got John on. He's been a busy guy. They bought a house, him and his girlfriend. So
Nice.
he's been a busy guy. So no, it was a great episode. And like I said, it's always nice to hear episodes when you meet your heroes and they're not dicks.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're decent people. They realize that without people like you, fans,
Right.
they're nobody. They
Larry,
don't-
when are we going to meet Michael?
Well, dude,
When's
I don't,
that gonna happen?
I'm scared to meet Michael Jordan, man. I don't. It would crush me if he was an asshole. If he blew me off, it would crush me.
all-
Yeah.
Don't meet him.
Yeah.
Just let it live in your little head.
Yeah, that's probably for the best. Adam, would you? Who would you want to meet?
I don't know, really. I mean, Dale Earnhardt, but he passed away. But
You'll have your moment.
yeah, I know. I'll get to meet him someday.
Someday.
But no, I don't know. It's
Somebody wrestling? No?
no, probably like I'd really like to meet Brian Shaw. No one knows who that is.
I'm on my next door neighbor. No.
No, he's a
Is he the other bearded guy from ZZ Top?
Create the sweater?
no. He's a strong man. He's one of the
Oh,
the
I
strong
was
man
thinking you'd probably like to meet a
competition.
strong man. Yeah.
And he actually lives here in Colorado, so
Really?
Sounds
The-
easy.
the-
Let's make it happen.
the odds are pretty good.
He's probably listening.
Right.
I'll tag him.
He is. He's been liking your Facebook videos. What are you talking about?
Maybe.
And yours is Stevie Nicks, right?
Hands down. She's
Yeah.
my girl. She's my spirit animal.
Stevie.
Yeah, and you're Jordan also.
Yeah, I love Jordan.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, I hear just
Boy.
horror stories about how he treats people. So
Don't do it.
Yeah,
I don't want to do it. And the other one's Dangerfield. I would have
Oh, yes.
killed anybody to meet Rodney Dangerfield. That would have been.
How about this guy? Do you know who that guy is?
One more. Is this a porn story?
Ron
Ron
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Who's that?
No, I probably didn't do it right. That guy.
Oh, Chris Farley.
Chris
In a
Farley.
van down by a river.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not really. He was all. I didn't really do
more-
it right. Yeah. What?
Chris Farley for me was great. I read the book. The book's very sad, but I mean, he's not. I would meet him. That'd be cool. He's one of those guys if you met, that'd be cool to meet. But I wouldn't pursue.
Like if he was to have a barrier down.
Yeah.
You're not going to say no.
But I mean, that Saturday Night Live crew, probably Sandler would be a bigger one to meet for me.
Have you watched his latest thing he has out? What's it called? I don't know. Where he sings all these little songs and travels to all tour. I can't think what the heck it's called.
He can sing. He's actually a really good singer.
He told this story. I probably better not say it. It's pretty naughty. Let's just say he told a story about him and his wife, and they were pretty cozy. And
I don't know. All right. So that was Billy. So that was thank you, John Sherman. That was a great story. Michelle, you want to pick one?
Sure.
I go.
Alrighty. We are going to go with a middle schooler's Halloween.
Okay.
I just said this.
All right. Well, we're going to check it out. Watch it now. A middle schooler's Halloween.
All right, so this I have to rack my memory for. So I had to think about this a little bit. And I'm not going to have every single detail because I was in 6th grade. I'm not in 6th grade anymore. Been out of school just a little while.
8th grade.
Yeah.
So I graduated from Lafayette, Colorado. And so this was at the middle school, which no longer exists. Of course, it's all brand new now.
Of course.
But anyway, so I was in middle school. I was in 6th grade. I went over, and it was around Halloween. I don't think it was on Halloween because I don't recall us going trick-or-treating or dressing up. But it was when all the Halloween movies came out. And at that time, like Chucky was big.
Oh, like the Michael Myers Halloween?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Friday the 13th, Chucky.
All
those
of the
were big.
Halloween movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
like just scary in general.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when those were all just coming out. So it was Halloween time.
Yes.
Plus those were newer back then.
Right.
And my parents did not want me to watch those kinds of movies, so I had to go to my friends to watch them.
Of course.
So I go to a sleepover, and, we're kind of being sneaky because we're watching these movies. Her mom was working. She had a single mom, or she lived with a single mom household. The mom was working. The brother was there. He was older. He was a teenager. I don't want to say 16 or so. Her room is in the basement, and this is in downtown Lafayette. Now it's called Old Town. It's so weird to say that. I was like, how can that be Old Town? I grew up there. And his bedroom was upstairs. So we're in her basement, and things are going fine. And she has all these dolls and stuffed animals. I just have to throw that in. That'll come back in a minute.
Okay.
So I remember us sitting on the floor. We had pillows and blankets and popcorn and all the middle school snacks, you have down there. And we're happily watching movies. And they're scary because I was kind of sheltered from that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So to me, I was like freaked out.
Yeah.
I still don't love them, especially because I associate those movies with this. And we're watching these movies. Well, and we were kind of out in the living room area, and then her bedroom was also in the basement. So at one point, she's like, hey, let's go hang out in her bedroom for a little while. Or in her bedroom for a little while. I'm like, okay, cool. And she's shown me stuff or whatever. Well, in the meantime, there had been a couple of dolls sitting out in the hallway that were hers. And she pointed out the dolls as we were walking by. And okay, cool, whatever. And I don't remember if she stepped out or not, to be honest with you. But we went back to watch movies, and those dolls were all rearranged.
Was it the brother?
I don't know for sure. So
Okay.
there's more to this, okay? So we'll come back to that brother here.
Okay.
So those dolls were rearranged. Well, I'm like, whatever. But she kind of points it out, and I'm like, okay, so you're just trying to scare me. You're just trying to scare me.
Right.
But here's part of the weird part is she got this dark look on her face that just changed. This was probably my first experience with some of those things you were talking about, demons or whatever.
Okay.
Dark eyes, and her whole demeanor just changed. But I'm young, so I don't know any better.
And she's your age.
Yeah, she's my age. We're the same age. We're
Okay.
both in middle school. I can't remember her
Had you
name.
known her a while before all this?
I did, but I'd never spent the night at her
Right,
house.
okay,
And I hadn't
okay.
had a lot of sleepovers, so.
Right.
But I remember she had curly hair, and her eyes just got dark. Like, just the whole demeanor changed of her. Just the whole thing.
Like black eyes, like
Dark eyes.
okay.
Yeah. So we go back out, we're watching a few movies, and then of course girls can't, you can't sit still for that long when you're in 6th grade. And we go back,
Right.
lo and behold, those damn dolls were all rearranged again, moved around. I swear I'd never saw her move them. Really weird. we're back in her room and we're talking and giggling. And I told you she kind of had changed, but we're giggling, but it's weird giggle. And she pulls out a knife. Yeah. She pulls out a knife, okay? But she's not threatening me with a knife. She's just pulling it out, waving around and flicking it. And like, I'm naive enough.
I hate her. What is
Yeah.
going-
So I'm pretty naive still at this age, and I hadn't, like I said, I've been sheltered. I don't have a lot of sleepovers. I was like, okay, she's got a knife, whatever. She wasn't
This bitch
doing
got a
anything.
blade.
Like she wasn't doing anything with it. Not looking back now, I should have been scared.
Well, yeah.
But she's not really doing much with it. But she's walking around with this knife, big knife.
Like a legit butcher knife.
Like Crocodile Dundee knife? Is
Yeah,
that
like,
what you...
well, not that big.
It's not a knife,
like
this
one
is a
out of
knife.
like out of a knife block, one of the bigger knives.
Okay. It was in her room?
Yes, it was in her room.
What?
So we go back out to watch some more movies, and I'm sitting crisscross applesauce on the floor, and she was kind of lounging, laid back. But the next thing I know, she's standing over me with a knife over my head. She was standing, and I was like, "Should I be scared?" I'm like, "What the hell is?" Again, I'm dumb. You're in 6th grade. You have to remember back to that. Your brain
Right.
isn't really
Right.
developed enough to realize you're in danger.
Right. You feel safe with a friend.
Yeah. I think, is she just playing with me or what? Scaring me because we're
This
scary
is
movies. I'm
Yeah,
naive.
yeah.
She probably knew I was naive. But I told you her demeanor was different by now.
Right.
Okay, so I don't know. We move around or what have you, and we go back upstairs to get something. I turn around and she was holding a knife up to my neck.
What?
No, that's no.
Wait, are her parents home?
No, she has a single
Single mom.
mom.
Oh,
Her mom's
yeah,
at
yeah,
work.
yeah. Okay.
So I knew her brother was home, but I didn't know her brother.
Like this to your neck.
Yeah. Yeah.
What the fuck?
But she didn't push it on me. She just was holding it up there, and I was like, pushed her off me a little bit.
Right.
I didn't know her brother, but I knew her brother was home. So I go knocking on his door. I'm like,
Your
this is
sister's
before-
batshit.
This is before cell phones, you guys. So there's no cell phones.
Of course.
Okay, in 6th grade for me, there was no cell phones. It
Right.
was old phones, I don't think it was a dial, but one of those push.
How far are you from your house right now?
About 10 miles. I lived out in the country. She lived in town.
I still walked.
Okay. So I couldn't just pull out a phone and
Sure.
Or a knife and fight back.
no.
Right.
Yeah, and you don't just you can't just whip out a cell phone like you now can.
Right.
You can
Right.
either dial 911 or recorder, one of the two. I couldn't do that at the time.
Right.
So I go knocking on his door. Well, the video games weren't what they are now, but that's when Mario first came out.
Sure. Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo. So he's in there playing Nintendo, and I knock, and he didn't want me to come in. He's like, "Wah, wah, leave me alone," and I'm like, "Help! I need your help." Well, he ended up opening the door, and I'm like, I can't remember her name. I think mentally I've blocked some of this out, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I'm like, she's holding a knife to me. I need help. Well, he was pissed off that I had interrupted his game.
Right.
Well, she comes up behind me and she's all sweet. Like, what's wrong? Like that whole demeanor thing changed back. So she's like, what are you talking about? So of course he thinks I'm free. He's like, get the hell out of my room and leave me alone. So we go back out to the kitchen. We're upstairs now, right? And so the knife is gone. Now there's a rope.
What?
She switches back to demon-y, and at first she's holding that rope, dangling it over my head. And it wasn't in a noose, but she was like this over my head. I'm like, oh, I'm in trouble now. And this is the middle of the night now, okay? So I'm at a sleepover, so, I don't know how many hours in I am.
Right.
And we're not watching movies.
Right.
She's just like, she's just messing with you now.
Yeah, she's dangling a
What
rope
are you
over my
saying
head.
to her? What are your words?
I kept telling her, what is wrong with you? What is wrong? I kept saying this over and over. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? She didn't answer me. She didn't reply. I'm not kidding. She didn't reply. So
my
I go
God.
back to the brother's room. Help. He wouldn't answer the door because he's like, get the hell out of here. You're my sister's little friend. You guys are bugging me. What is wrong with you?
Right.
Well, I turn around and I'm in the hallway and she's trying to tie me up. She grabs my hands. She's trying to tie me up.
What?
Yeah. And I'm fighting her. I'm like, no. And I kept going, what is wrong with you? Well, all my belongings were in the basement. So I was like, I've got to get my belongings and get out of here. But my mom wasn't picking me up till the next morning and I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't know where her phone was at. I'm like, what am I going to do? Run to the neighbors? And that is actually what I was going to do. But in my mind, I needed to go get my stuff. Right. I need to go get my clothes and I'm a girl. I needed my stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how am I going to do this? And so at one point I did run out in the front yard because I was like, I need to go. I need
she
help.
chase you?
Like, no. So she gets all sweet again. Once we're outside, she's all sweet again. But I'm like, I need to go
What
get
the
help from the
fuck?
neighbor. And so I asked when she was sweet again, I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? We're supposed to be friends. You know, you're trying to hurt me. And what is wrong with you? And she's like, what are you talking about? We're having fun. And I'm like, I'm telling you, she was literally, she was mental or
Right.
I don't know. Maybe she was possessed.
Right.
So I didn't run to the neighbors like I was going to. I went back in the house. The rest of the night was okay.
What?
Yeah. She didn't do anything else. We watched movies, but I sat there freaked out.
Did you
So-
sleep at all?
No.
Well, I was gonna
No.
say.
So finally, then daybreak comes and I had my stuff and I was out waiting on the porch for my mom.
Hell yeah.
So did you tell your mom what happened?
No, I never told my mom.
You
If she
never
watches
did?
this, she's going to be surprised. No, I never told an adult what happened. I did not hang out with this girl ever again.
Wow,
Did you see her at school?
I did see her at school.
Did you? You didn't
No, I
tell
didn't
the
even talk
kids?
to her. I was so scared.
You didn't tell her. You didn't warn other women. It makes you the monster too.
No,
Okay, that's-
I didn't warn anyone. No, I cut those ties so quickly.
oh my god.
But I mean, this had lasted most of the night. But after she tried to
Do you
Yep, I
follow
ran
this
it.
person on Facebook? Like, I'd be
I don't
so
even know where she's-
interested.
She
like,
can't
is
remember her
she
name,
like
though,
a?
yeah.
Oh, dang it! I was like, wouldn't it be interested? Like, is she like, right? And like, is in prison or something right now? I don't know.
You ever seen the movie Good Luck Chuck?
No.
Yes.
Okay, well, it's where that girl is all gothic and she curses him, right? And she's all scary and shit, and the curse is real. So he finds her, and she's like this mom. She grew up to be this normal mother, And
Yeah.
he's like, "Please take the curse off." But she still had that voodoo doll that she had cursed him with, Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking about. Like, she's probably some sweet woman that's killing her neighbors by now. He's just have no
I
idea.
don't. I think this girl is
Yeah.
that shit.
To this day, I really don't know if she was just messing with me, really,
Right.
or
So did you like finish school together, like middle school, high school, or she move away? Do you move away?
I don't really remember. I remember going back to school that Monday because, of course, this was over the weekend, and I stayed as far away from her as I could
Hell yeah.
and cut off all. That was it, and so I don't even know whatever happened to her. I think I didn't pay attention to her after that.
All right. So that was Lori Boyer's a middle schooler's Halloween. So I'll let you start it off, Michelle.
Well, I would say, going through something that traumatic, like, I don't know, I guess some of those things you do keep to yourself. Like, you don't, like, if you had
Yeah.
something that scary happen, I mean, ugh.
Right.
Right.
So
You just
obviously
repress
there
it.
was some inner, someone just made their way into that girl and
And
took over.
I'm going to apologize, Dencia. This was actually your pick. So I'm sorry. What? By all means, what did you think?
I mean, when you and I were hearing the story for the first time, I literally could just like feel my chin just dropping and being like, what? What? And then I went home and I tried to like recite it to my family and they were like, I don't know, it doesn't sound that bad. But then when it came out and they heard it, it was like, it's just hearing her tell it in her own words and just knowing that she experienced it
Right.
is crazy.
Right.
Crazy.
That's also another one that I'll give kudos to for having the
Yeah.
guts to tell that story, because you could tell it's something that it really bothered her.
Yeah.
And when she was telling you could almost tell she was like, how do I want to put this? Like, can you believe this? Like,
Yeah.
it was such a crazy way she
But
told
very
the
matter
story.
of fact.
Yeah, very matter of fact. And she doesn't even remember that girl's name. Which, I mean, I believe if you have something that bad happen, I mean, you block it out. It just, it did.
That's what she said. She's trying to block it out.
Right.
Hell, I would too.
What do you guys think it was? Do you think it was like she's crazy? Do you think it was something demonic? Like
The
if
girl.
you had to,
The
yeah,
I
the girl.
say
Oh, I thought you meant what I thought her name was. I thought we were all going to guess. I say Angelica.
Charles Manson.
yes. I say demonic.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
There's some troubled seeds out there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree.
I think maybe it was. I wouldn't count that out because I do believe in that very much. But I think it was almost maybe this girl had issues. Like there was a darkness in her. You know, like some people are just have that darkness, that evil in them. Not necessarily demonic. They're just.
Oh, look at the world we're living in right now.
Right.
Mhm.
They get like satisfaction in bringing like pain to others.
Right.
And it's really sad. It's scary.
Right. And it's even scarier to think that maybe that's how she tested out these feelings that this girl had.
Right.
Was when Lori came over, she was just testing boundaries on where she would go with this. Right. I mean, and it is scary. And I don't have kids. You have daughters. You have a son. But I mean, it's still to have sleepovers. Have you guys ever worried about that? Like stuff that would happen?
I keep a close eye on who my kids go to.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
and if you don't know that parent that's like, well, why don't they come over here?
Right.
It's just it is really
I
scary.
always preferred to have Ty. Why don't you guys hang at our house? I mean, unless I really knew the other parent like
Right.
really, really well, and I'm totally like. But now he's got his license. It's gonna be a whole new world. But I'm totally like, if they all want to come hang and play Xbox, and I've got 4 smelly kids in the room, I don't care if we're ordering pizzas or I know where they are. I know they're safe, and But to have something like that, I mean, you think in a situation like that,
yeah.
Yeah, they're
And
at a friend's house. They're safe.
But do
And
you agree,
then
Adam?
that
Like with
happens.
girls, like it's hard.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like
I
feel
can
like-
imagine.
Yeah, there's a sense of security when you have a boy. Like, and that's not right to say because things
Well,
can happen to
yeah.
boys too. But I feel like I don't know. Like it's just
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, her story, that one got me. I was so scared, you guys. Like we were leaving, and Lori, I'll tell you this. Like the door, like did a backswing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was so scared, like dazed.
Right.
Yeah,
I was kind of bummed out. We didn't bring Lori a week earlier to hit Halloween.
right.
Because she had very Halloweenish stories, the Stanley Hotel and all that. And she was very, I don't say this on the podcast, she was a little, I won't say not nervous to come on, but she kept telling me, I don't think I'll do well. And I thought she was awesome.
Yeah, she did great.
She did a really good job.
She tells stories every day. I mean, it's
Right.
most of legit stories and true stories.
Well, yes and no, she listens to more stories than she tells. I mean, she's like usually the interviewer,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Right.
But that's crazy because I'm one of her good friends. I've never even
I
heard that story.
And maybe we weren't the first to hear Dencia, but I got that vibe.
I did too.
Like, this isn't a story she just tells people. So the fact
Right.
that she came on here and told that story, I was very grateful to hear it. I thought that was very ballsy for her to tell that story. So thank you, Lori Boyer, by the way.
Yep.
That was a great story. That was one of my favorites. If you wouldn't have picked that one, I would have
Yeah,
tried to
it's
talk
good.
someone to picking it, or I'd have picked it. I wanted to make sure that one actually made the list. So for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Brokey.
Okay. Well, I'm going to save this bottom one for the last.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with a short story about a little date I had, which was actually my story.
You picked that one.
picked
out.
that one, yeah.
Okay, let's check it out. Here's the story. So I want to hear a short story about a little date I had.
Oh, mercy. I feel like Adam's onto my notes.
I
All right.
can't even read those from over here.
He's a peeker. He's a peeker.
All right, so I got divorced in 2016 and kind of did my own thing for a while. And I thought, you know what, I want to get back out there. But I was born in Fort Morgan, born and raised, right? So I've seen the pond. I know the fish.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, no, I think I'm going to hard pass on that. And parts of my divorce were very... When you're going through something, you think everybody knows your stuff.
Right.
So I thought that everybody knew everything about my whole life. So I decided I'm going to go to a bigger pond. So I got on a dating website, but put my location in Denver. Because apparently, like some of them, like eHarmony, I wouldn't even play with that because of like an application. But some of them, like they'll let you sign up under anything. Which is a funny story because I got signed up on a lesbian website once. That's a story for another day. I didn't do
Me
it.
too. So I may or may not have hit that button. Anyway, please go ahead.
So I get on this dating website in Denver. And at the time, my wingman was Jamie the Chorus. You guys know Jamie.
I know
Yeah.
Jamie.
Yeah.
What's up, Jamie?
Yeah, she moved.
Where?
She's in Missouri.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Still married to the cop?
To Marty.
Marty, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, and Tiki just got married. Yeah. Tiki, her daughter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I know, it makes us all kind of old.
I mean, we quit stalking her about a year and a half ago, so I mean, yeah.
She told me she's going to throw me a 45th birthday party. She missed it. That's why. She's in Missouri. My birthday was Monday.
Can we blame it on COVID? I feel like everything gets blamed on
I'm going to
COVID.
blame it on you, Jamie. What the hell?
But she was drunk that night. It was at your house at some birthday party for somebody else, or a Halloween party or something. I don't know.
That doesn't sound like my house at all. It probably
No,
wasn't.
it was the house next to you, but we were standing at your house.
Yeah, if you were at
We
Chelsea's
went to get
house.
you, and then we went over.
It wasn't Steve Smith's birthday party.
It was.
The Pimps and Hoes, where we told Steve Smith that it was a reverse dress-up party, so he had to dress.
Yeah, it was that party.
That's not familiar. I don't know anything about that, Mom.
Was it weird when Steve Smith just showed up and didn't have to buy any clothes? He just went, well, I got some in the closet right now. I can.
No, this is what the sad part was, is everybody knew that, but the other men who chose to still show up in drag, that was actually the funny part. And that's a true story. Other men did show up in drag. I was like, we were just telling Marty that, right?
Right.
But, you know what? Yeah.
The cop.
Anyways, so the story, Jamie's my wingman,
Okay.
right? Through my whole divorce. And so I'm starting to do these dating apps in Denver. And, I'm a big scaredy cat. I think everybody's out to get everybody. So safety in numbers, Jamie's, when I going to go on a date, she's going to come to Denver. We're going to get a hotel room, just her and I. And then we had Life 360, where the app on your phone, and you can see where somebody's traveling. You can see how fast they were going. So her and I are in a Life 360 circle. So if I stop moving for a certain amount of time, she'll come look for my body in a bathtub full of ice, like that kind of thing. So Jamie has me on Life 360. She's gonna watch, make sure I'm safe, right? I've talked to this guy on the dating app. It seems like we're in a good place. We're just gonna go out to dinner. He knows that I'm staying with a girlfriend in the hotel. And you don't want to be rude and be like, what are we doing? It just feels mean. So instead you say, like, what should I wear? Because you don't want to show up, to a Rockies game wearing a dress, and you want to go to the theater wearing flannel. And so that's the nice way of saying, are we doing something lame or something cool? What should I wear? And he said, well, wear something nice, and heels if you have it. All right, kind of weird. I don't have heels because I grew up here, but Jamie has a closet full of heels, all still in the original boxes. And you do, Jamie. They're still in there, and she writes on the ends of them. So I squish.
Wait, why would she do that? What?
That's what she does. She has a bunch of shoes.
So she knows what's in there.
Yeah.
Oh.
So you have to open the box every time? I don't know. Some of them had pictures on the end. So I have wider feet than Jamie.
Okay.
But I find a pair of heels that matches this dress, and I'm pretty nervous. Like I never even dated. I was with my husband since I was 16. So I'm pretty excited and get all dressed up. I'm wearing these heels that they don't really fit me, and they kind of hurt my feet already. And he tells me he's picking me up in a Ferrari.
Wow.
And I was like, all right. Real estate, Denver, like it sounds legit. So I go out in front of the hotel because also girl rule, you don't tell them what room number you're in case you got to bail. So I said, I'll just come down and meet you. So I'm standing there and I hear it. And here comes this car driving like a bat out of hell. Or flies into like the valet parking thing. And I was like, oh, please don't be a rude person. So I start walking over there, and I feel like a prize fool because I usually don't wear dresses. I don't wear heels. But that's cool. Like, this guy seemed good looking. He works in real estate. He pulls up in a Ferrari. He wants me to dress up in heels. He gets out and doesn't stand any taller than the car. I was like, oh, I feel so... I'm towering over him. And I guess maybe at this point, heels or not, it wouldn't have mattered. But I feel really dumb. So I pour myself into the Ferrari, and I'm thinking, I get it. Like a little small man complex.
Like, is he someone we could throw it at him if he was wearing Velcro?
I was just thinking that same thing.
Okay.
Damn it, dude. You stole my joke, man.
I think you have to be 4'10" to actually be a dwarf or a midget. And I didn't have a tape measure on me, but he didn't have how do you say this insensitively? He didn't have like the arms, right? Like they were regular arms.
Right.
Right.
He's just a little guy.
He's just a little guy.
He's a little guy.
just-
He's so cute.
He's so cute. Yeah. So his seat's pushed all the way up in the Ferrari, right? And I got to roll mine all the way back, right? And to like account for these heels that I have no idea what I'm doing in. So he takes me to Ruth's Chris. It's like a steakhouse downtown, and
Okay.
it's very nice. It's got like fabric white tablecloths. We go in immediately. The guy's a jerk. He's a jerk to the wait staff. Then he gets on the phone and starts talking obnoxiously loud during our date to somebody and like yelling at the waitress. And so I'm texting Jamie. I'm like, dude, this is going to be a really short date. Like, I think he's a jerk. I think he's a mean guy. I don't think it's just like a complex. So we had ordered Brussels sprouts for the appetizer, and I love Brussels sprouts. Like the ones they have at the Mav, I love those. So I taste one. I really like it. He pops one in his mouth. He's still on the phone. The waitress, they are all dressed up fancy, is clear over to another table. He yells at her, makes her come take the Brussels sprouts because they're horrible. And I'm like to Jamie, I was like, I gotta go. Like, this is not. I'm gonna eat. I'm obviously gonna eat. I'm freaking hungry, right? And at this point, who cares what I look like? Yeah.
Right.
So we finish our meal. He's incredibly rude through the whole meal, and so I'm starting already. I was like, well, thank you so much. It was nice. And he's like, you didn't enjoy it, did you? I was like, well, I was a waitress for a long time, and so I'm just real sensitive to
Right.
that. I just felt bad for the wait staff because it wasn't their fault that you didn't like the food. And he was like, oh no, let me make it up to you. I've got a buddy who owns a club. We can go there. And I'm like, well, let me check with my friend.
Right,
So I tell
right.
Jamie, 1 hour. If you don't hear from me, Life 360 me and come pick me up.
Right.
So we get back in the car, and I don't know Denver very well. So we start going, and again, we're weaving in and out of cars. And we're getting into a scary part of town. And all of a sudden, he just goes, shit, I passed it. And he flips around, and there's like a cement barrier in between, right? So we had to
Right.
flip around kind of an intersection. And the red and blues come on behind us.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh my gosh. So he pulls over, and instantly he's agitated. And I start looking around and realize I'm on Federal. These rooms rent by the hour, and I look like a prostitute.
Look, dude, whatever you do, don't get short
Right.
with the cop.
And so, good one. I see what you did there.
I see what I did there?
Yeah, I saw
You
that.
take a shot at him, you get your point across. You're like, I don't want to go to jail and sit with other ladies of the night,
Oh, that's what I look like too. So I'm like, crap. So I text Jamie again. I was like, we just got pulled over, and all of a sudden, this guy's, I can tell, he was so super confident and cocky. All of a sudden, he's freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna get arrested. Something is
This
happening.
car is stolen.
There's a pound of Kush under the seat.
So the cop comes back over. The cops comes to the window, and my date, Lanny, pulls out an envelope and hands it to him, and he's like, "Here, it's all in there." And I was like, "Oh my god, are you bribing the cop now, Jamie? He's gonna get arrested. Life 360 me now. Come get me."
Right.
And the cop's like, "I need your license, registration, proof of insurance, whatever." And he's like, "It's all in there." And the cop's like, "Well, can you give it to me?" He's like, "It's all in there." And I don't know why the cop walked away, but instead of insisting that the guy take it out of the envelope, he goes. And I think at that point, Lanny realized I'm not doing okay. I'm freaked out, and I can't get out of the car because I'm gonna get for sure picked up or murdered or something.
Right.
And he's like, it's fine. These cops are just idiots. And I was like, okay. And he's like, it's fine. Oh, I know the DA. I sold him his house or whatever it was he'd said. And I was like, well, I don't want to end up either walking home from here or.
Right.
So it takes the cop forever. I'm for sure now. He's getting arrested. I'm already trying to figure out. And of course, all I brought was a teeny tiny purse with my ID and one credit card. So how am I supposed to prove that I'm a farm girl? These aren't even my shoes.
Right.
I don't belong here,
Right.
officer. So the cop comes back with the envelope, kind of hands it to my date, and leans into the car across me and goes, "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't realize this car was rented." I'm like, oh my god, what have I done with my life right now? So it's horrible. I can feel I'm drenched in sweat. I look at this guy, he's not doing good. I'm like, let's just call it a night. He's like, well, where's your friend? I said, well, she's kind of waiting to see like where she's picking me up here. She's picking me up at the cop shop. What's going on?
right.
He goes, let's go to my friend's club. I will Uber her there. I'll Uber your friend there. So as we're sitting there, I get on the phone with her. I said, this is the deal. And she's been sitting in a hotel room waiting for me.
Right.
She's like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll do that. And I was like, Jamie, we could still salvage this night. Bring me a pair of shoes. And, come on down. He's going to send an Uber. I wait. He does. We see the Uber go. Cool. We get going again. Flip back around. Pull into the seediest strip club I've ever seen in my life. I haven't seen a lot of strip clubs. So we pull in here, and I was like, oh, hell no.
Was it named Saturdays?
No, it was something, something's den. Starts with the D.
The Clown's Den.
No, Danny's den. Devo's den.
Clownsden's on the
Hold on.
on the
This I actually, because I did have to look this one back up. I was like, I know if I saw it again, I would know it.
I drove by that on the way to Salt Lake City, and I started laughing. I don't think it's still open. I think it's called the Den now.
it's the den, yeah.
Dandy's den.
Dandy Dan.
Dandy's.
Dandy Dan's.
Dandy Dan's.
Okay.
Okay, so
Larry knows
I don't
the
know,
place.
Mom. Don't. I just these are always, my mother's gonna watch this like, good Lord, Lawrence, you've named like 10 strip clubs.
so this is where we go, and I feel like I'm in here forever before Jamie gets there, and she comes and finds me, and she's like, what the hell? I'm like, I don't know. What you and I need, like, let's go. Except for he's gonna buy us drinks. Well, actually, let's let him buy us some drinks first because I've earned it. So her and I proceed to have a few drinks, and it's just getting grosser, right? So we're gonna go. So we walk out, and her and I apparently had, in some lapse of time, forgotten exactly how we got there. So we go, and Lanny's gonna take us back to our hotel room. Super cool. Until we walk out and realize that there's now 3 of us in a little coupe Ferrari. Right, like there's only 2 seats in the front.
Right.
So Jamie and I are like, dude, we're just gonna Uber. Can you just get us an Uber, back to the hotel, or we'll just Uber ourselves? He's like, no, I'll take you. Well, again, when we look around, we're in a scary part of town. We're not super excited to stand in the parking lot.
Right.
So you can do anything for 15 minutes, right? So Jamie gets in the seat, and I sit down like kind of crossways because there's no head space. So I kind of had to lay my head like between the 2 headrests, and my legs are across hers, and homeboy is just saying church everywhere we go.
Well, it's rented. What does he give a shit? Right?
So it was. So we got back to the hotel, and he got in trouble for the way he parked. And Jamie and I are just on the exit plan because, like smart people, we didn't tell him what our room number was. So ultimately, by the end of the night, and at the strip club, he was putting the dollar bills on us. Like flies on shit kind of thing.
Right.
And we're like, here you can just have, please don't touch me. Like, that thing looks infected. Please don't touch me.
Oh, other people were putting dollar bills on you.
No, Lanny was putting dollar bills on Jamie and I.
Okay.
Right, like to attract. And so we get back to the hotel room. It's been a fairly horrible thing. And he was like, continues to follow us. So he asked like a homeless guy for a cigarette. Seemed fairly normal, and the homeless guy gave it to him, which I also thought was a little odd. So as soon as he likes it, Jamie and I just exited. So that's that story. And then that night when we got upstairs and finally we're like, oh my, what just happened? And we're like trying to distress from it. We start taking our clothes off. That's what you do when you get back to the hotel room. And just dollar bills are falling out of our clothes. Like, we've got money everywhere. So that's my short story about my...
All right, so that was the clip of the story. A little story, what was it? A short story about a little date I had. So this is another one I'd kind of forgotten about until you brought it up. You were going to pick this one. And I went back and re-listened to it, and I got to tell you, I laughed. what a crazy.
Like, was this the first time out of the shoot?
I don't know if it was the first time, but
It was
kind of.
It was kind of a bigger date out of town. She said, and she hadn't dated a lot because as you just heard, she had been with the same guy since middle school. So she was not really into the dating thing. She, she was excited, and then she just gets this idiots.
Right? And if you know Chelsea, that is so, like I said, a Chelsea thing. It's like just one thing after another. She couldn't catch a break.
Yes,
And so
it is.
It was a fantastic story. Chelsea did such a good job too. She came so prepared. That's Chelsea too, right?
Yes.
And all her stories were really great. It was a long episode, but it's one of those. It was a long episode, but I didn't realize it was a long episode.
It went fast.
Because she had our attention the whole time.
Right.
I mean, she really did. She had me just like, I wasn't asking any
She's a good
questions.
storyteller.
She really was. We hardly interrupted her to ask questions. We just listened to her tell a story. So Chelsea's more than welcome to come back on this podcast. So, and I always wondered at the end of a podcast, she said, I have a great story, but I can't tell it. So if someone needs to borrow a bull hooker, I have a great bull hooker. I would love to know what that bull hooker is. So,
I know what it is.
oh, do you really? Yeah. Okay.
I can only imagine.
But that's why you picked it?
Yeah, it's just like I said. I've known Chelsea for a long time, and it's just like a Chelsea thing, just a comedy of errors almost.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Like
I picture that guy. Oh, sorry. Like on Elf, when the guy's like, "Call me Elf one more time." You know, like I'm important.
Right. Right.
I bet Carrie loves that movie, doesn't he?
Yes. Okay, you know this about my husband.
Yeah, we even talked
Chelsea's
about it.
Michael is the same way with midgets. Loves
Really?
them. So the fact that she called this story a short story about a little date I had is so funny to me because all the puns that we hear about little people is really bad. And you know, Carrie and Michael have a dream, and if I know Michael, he's gonna
He'll
make
make it
this-
happen.
Yeah. To have a festival, and it's called the Biggest Little Festival, and it is little people based, all little people. Like he knows of a Kiss midget cover van.
Really? Oh my
I've
gosh.
actually seen them, like not live, but I've seen video
Yeah.
of them.
Stand up. You're not going to be afraid. Get down. Love is like a hurricane.
Mini corn dogs, mini corn.
Yeah.
Like everything is mini. Like I think they could make it
he'd probably
happen.
make it happen.
We talked about it. We didn't come out and say what it was with Chelsea, but we talked about it. We talked about putting Adam in a Velcro and throwing little people at Adam.
And it's a thing. You can do this. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not in here, but other places.
Well, nobody needs to steal that. Copyrighted. All right.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
but I really did. I liked it. That was a great episode. from
Well,
this
and
year.
who shows up in a date in a car like that anyhow? Like if somebody had a ton of money, like I
He
would,
might as well
take
have been
it
like,
down
I
a
just
few.
came back from the future.
Yeah.
His card goes on.
I'm like, really? Like,
Yeah.
no.
I mean, but then again, I mean, it fooled her like it would have fooled anybody. I mean, he pulls up in a super nice car.
Yeah.
You don't assume it's he was in real estate. So Chelsea's like, okay, it's respectable.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
wouldn't you? I mean,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. I mean, not to say, but still, like, even I don't know. I'm just gonna pull up in a Lamborghini. Yeah.
And he lives in the basement of his mom's house.
That's why he could have.
Sexy.
That's why he could afford to rent one.
Yeah.
like, for the night. Mm-hmm.
So, and as he's gunning it around, you know why? Because it's rented. Who's he give a shit? You know what I mean? So, but I
Like, you
mean,
can't make that shit up.
you guys ain't great. Well, you guys have been married for a long time too, so you really don't have those stories. either, I
No.
guess, yeah.
Oh, I have some stories. Let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
No, we were watching Tommy Boy. What do you mean?
Okay, that was a good one. So, one last one, and this is my pick. This was the one. This wasn't actually. Well, it's called The Goat. It's by your husband, Carrie Kudrin.
Yeah.
Before we get started on this one, here it is. Here's the clip. Check this one out.
You want to hit it?
Yeah,
You want to hear it?
we'll try. Yeah, let's do
Okay.
it.
I had just moved out here, and I got this buddy that I went to school with back in Lincoln. He was from Chicago, and dude, I loved drugs. God, he loved drugs. We used to call him Jackball Johnny. And he calls me up, and it's this summertime. He's like, Carrie, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. I'm hanging out. You got to come up to the Mishawaka. Commander Cody's plan. I'm like, who the hell is Commander Cody?
Right.
Seriously? Commander Cody, he used to open up for the Dead. I'm like, the Grateful Dead? Okay, well, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring a tent and bring some water. All right. We're camping, he said. We're camping. So you guys know where the Mishawaka is,
yeah.
right?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
I don't.
Up Poudre Canyon, up north of or west of Fort Collins.
Okay.
So he's like, by the way, I got a surprise. Okay, cool. So we get up there, and he says, bring your tent. We're camping on this island.
The island.
Yeah, well, there's a river. They got a rope kind of bridge, but the water's, 2 foot tall or high. and you just hold on to the rope so you don't get swept down the river. Right. But we're camping in the middle, and there's like an island like this big right here. It's not that big, but so we set up our tent, and we're getting ready to go to this show. That Mishawaka is an outdoor amphitheater.
Okay.
Okay. They got fences and stuff all the way around it, so it's general admission. You got to pay to get in. And he says, eventually he comes up to me and he says, "Okay, so here's my surprise. I got a cherry and I got a grape sweet tart. Cherry's got 1 drop of acid, and the grape one's got 10." Oh my! Like, 1 or 10? Those are my options. 1 or 10.
Cherry me, buddy. Cherry me.
No 2s, no 3s. Just 1. I mean, it's 1 or go home, basically.
Do you want to have a good night, or do you want to end up in the state hospital for the rest of your life? Which one? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, give me the cherry one, Johnny. Yeah. Okay. Eat this cherry sucker, and the band starts up, and I hated it the second it kicked in. And so I don't even remember the concert. I got kicked out of this concert 3 times.
Oh.
Like this guy, the bouncer would be like, "What are you doing? You can't do that." Kicks me out. I climb the fence, get back in. He finds me one time. He finds me in the bathroom, and I'm like, see him coming. I'm like hiding in the janitor's closet from this guy. He's like, "What? You again? I've thrown you out of here already."
Right.
I'm like, "I know. I don't know what I'm doing in here." Finally, it's done. Concert's over, and I thank God.
Right.
I'm like, I want the hell out of here. So, John, we go back to this island, and got a campfire, and we're sitting there on lawn chairs, and I'm hanging out, and I'm like, God dang it, I don't know if I should tell these people or not, but I'm looking down at my foot, and after a while, I've just got to say, does anybody else see a goat chewing on my foot right now? I didn't know if this was real or not, because I had seen plenty of stuff already that night. And I'm like, I need to get a cross reference right now. Does anybody else see a goat chewing on my foot?
Right.
And dude, swear to God, real live goat on this island. That's farm country up there. These people are letting these goats run,
Right.
Pasture.
Right.
But this one decides he just comes up and starts nibbling on my Nikes at night. And I had no idea if it was true or not, real or not.
Right.
And Johnny's like, you know what? Maybe the grape ones had one, and the cherries had.
Don't eat that one, man.
I wanted to punch his ass, dude. I'm like, never again. Never again.
That is a great story.
Yeah, I wanted that one to be in there, but I kind of figured I told you that one.
That's like the Cheech and Chong, man. Don't eat those, man. I already ate them, man. What?
Yeah. 1 or 10. Who comes up with that crap?
No.
Serious.
All right, so that was the clip. Carrie Kudrin, the goat. That wasn't actually one of the 3 stories he brought. We've all partied a lot together, and this is one of Carrie's favorite stories to tell.
It's a great.
I think I need to see him like in person.
Carrie's story.
And, because I've heard some pretty funny stories that he's shared that we can't share on here.
The one part that always stays the same too is the part where he's just like deciding if it's a goat. Because I've heard this story told a lot, and then he always says, "Can I get a cross reference? Does anybody else see a goat chewing on my shoe?" He always gets a cross reference.
He didn't tell the story because he thought I'd already heard it. So it just was by happenstance that he brought, "You heard my goat story." Like,
He's like,
no,
actually, I have not.
And it was Josh Finley was, as you saw, was the other one. And I enjoy watching Josh laugh at that thing. And Josh was also the co-host for the Pierre Carrillo podcast. So Josh gets the wacky stories, man. Josh is like 2-0 for crazy ass stories.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, but the Carrie story, that was a lot of I'm going to give some honorable mentions here in a bit. That one made my list no matter what. Nothing was going to knock the goat off. Because
He's never looked at a goat the same.
No, and the way he tells it, he has such conviction. What? 1, 10? Those are my odds? Well, okay.
And never once was it like, no, I won't have one. Yeah, I'm in. I'm gonna.
Yeah, just that it wasn't an option.
I was going to say the same thing.
Gary's like, I'm going to be responsible. Give me the 1 hit of acid. But then at the end, he had the 10 hits. Because he says in the story, he hated it the minute it kicked in.
He was like, take it back.
Well, yeah, because you just took 10 hits of acid. You have no tolerance to this shit, So
And if you've ever drank with my husband, he has this thing when he starts getting really drunk, and he can cross it, and he's got booze-eye going on, and he's like, booze-eye, you got to do this because you can't quite focus. So in my mind, I mean, I didn't know, but I always picture him with his booze-eye, like looking at this goat, like, motherfucker, are you real?
And like he said, the best part is, Lord knows what he saw that day. This goat was the most mellow thing he's seen so far, but it's the one that actually he's like, shit.
I can feel it too. My toes hurt.
And who knows, that might not have been the first goat. So.
But the other one had like a green wig and like,
He was playing a guitar.
Asked me if I had some ketchup.
But this one, he was persistent.
Yeah.
Go to hell. Go to hell. So that's why I picked that one. That was
a good story.
So far, that's probably my favorite story. Well, I can't even say my favorite story told on the podcast, but it's the one that I wanted to share in case you hadn't caught that episode. It was a very good one. So, as we said before, we don't have a clip for the last one. Susan Koster wanted to hear your story because we were being very respectful. Dencia was on a podcast, the Radio Rental podcast,
right?
Which you should totally check out. It's a great podcast.
I will say the first season is scarier than the second.
I haven't checked out the second. I should get on there.
It's okay.
So, it was a radio rental story about a story you had, and that was Susan Koster's favorite story.
I love it.
And we told bits and pieces of it. So, Dencia, you want to give her a shot?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I ended up on Radio Rental. I was listening to it, and I listen to a podcast, and it'll suggest another one. And it was like, if you have a story, write in. So I'd had this story, of course, since I was little. So I wrote in. And, excuse me, and that kind of put me down a rabbit hole to begin with. Because when I wrote in, I was like, will they believe me? Because the story's like so crazy.
It is freaking crazy.
It is really crazy. So I started research, and my son, Gage, got involved with it too. And we reached out to the Times, the library, and they ended up giving us a bunch of information on this as well. And I got pictures, which I never in my life had pictures of this, but I got really sucked into it at the time. So the story is back in the 70s, late 70s, because I was born in 72. But we moved to a house in Fort Morgan, and a lot of people have asked me. It is on Lake Street.
I can see
I used
it
to walk
from
by it every day.
You did. And a lot of people in that area have said their houses are similar.
You better be checking some shit out.
So when we moved into this house, it was a real simple house, in the fact that my parents' bedroom was on the main floor. It had a living room, kitchen, and then that had stairs that goes upstairs, and then that's where us girls slept. And in a room, it was a room, but actually it was a makeshift room because there was 3 of us, but technically 2 bedrooms because the third little space was just like I think it was just supposed to be storage, but because there was 3 of us, it was made into my sister's room. And that is where the cubbyhole was. And so right away when we moved into this house, things started happening.
Like a cubby hole up on the sea?
Nope, it was like this. It was in the wall. The cubby hole was in the wall, and it actually had like a handle on it. Yeah. So right away when we moved in, things started happening in the house. Things like it always started with food. Food was missing a lot. There was 3 of us growing up, so my mom would buy quite a bit of groceries, and food would go missing, and she'd buy special groceries. Those things would go missing, and that's where it started. And so then we were just like, what is going on? after that, my sister Wendy started babysitting, and she would get home, later from babysitting, and she'd take her babysitting money and put it on the table beside her bed and get up in the morning, and the money would be gone. Yeah. And me and my sister Paula would get accused of it. And I always thought she was lying about it. She thought I was lying about it, because we would get in trouble because our babysitting money would be gone.
And how old were you girls?
So Wendy was probably 11, 12. So I was 8, 9, somewhere around there. And Paula's 1 year younger than Wendy. So it just started with things like that, and things just kind of started progressing in the sense that we would come home and know that you had shut the door, and the door would be open, and just being always double guessing yourself.
The front door.
The front door, yes, thank you, the front door. And then the other weird thing is that my parents' bedroom was on the main floor, and my mom, again, she's always really adamant about cleaning the house before we left in the morning and making beds. And we would come home, and her bed would be unmade, like somebody had gotten in it. And so that was weird, because it was what is going on? And just always, and my sisters and I talk about it. My sister Wendy said, I think when you have things like that going on, you always try to make sense of it and make friends of it in your head.
Sure.
Because your head doesn't, you don't want to think, oh, somebody's living in our house, or whatever. But things just started going on more and more. The basement of the house was extra creepy. It was just a cement basement, and if you went all the way back to the basement, there was a ledge that only went up so far, and then it had a shelf where we would put stuff on. But if you would crawl up there and you went even further back, it had just a dirt area that kind of dropped down. So again, things are happening and things are progressing, and we just know something's going on. And one story that we always tell is, we were sitting having dinner one night, and there was just a loud crash in the basement, and we all looked at each other what was that? And my dad just gets mad, and he throws his fork down, and he's like, I'm done. I've had it. And he goes to the top of the basement stairs, and he's just yelling, you need to get out of our house. I've had it. I'm done. Get out of our house. And us girls were scared, and we were looking at each other what is going on?
Did your dad have any kind of weapon, or no?
No, nothing. Wow. And a lot of people are why didn't he call the cops? Well, this is early 80s, 911 wasn't a thing. And again, I think you are just thinking, this can't be what I think it is. Right? But in that moment, he was so upset, so over it, because things were just happening a lot.
One thing, one thing after another.
Right. And so he came back, and my mom was scared, and we were all looking at each other, and we're like, what's going on? And my dad's like, nothing. I think there's an animal. And we're like, no, you didn't act like there is an animal, something's going on. And it got to the point where Paula and I were scared. We knew something was going on, but we didn't know what was going on. And again, we were all getting in trouble for things. And I say there's this thing in our family called God's honor, where if I ask you something and you say, nope, didn't do it. And if I ask you God's honor, and you say God's honor, then I know it's the truth, right? We just never lied about it, because that always was a thing. And we would say, did you do this? And they would say, no. God's honor? No. So, we knew we weren't doing it, and we knew our parents were getting upset. And Paula and I started sleeping together. And the way my bed was, where she would come into my room, because her room was at the front of the house, but where my bed was, it kind of went up against this wall. We would lay in bed at night, and we could hear just ruffle, something shuffling, and we didn't know what it was, because we were young enough, we could not figure it out. And our young heads, we didn't want to believe somebody, was in the house. We didn't know what it was. My dad would go and he would nail the cubby hole shut, and the next day or whatever, the cubby would be it'd be open. The nail would be out. No explanation. Cool, thanks. And so just all sorts of things started happening.
Did he ever think to go look in that cubby throughout the thing?
Yes. So when my dad would nail it, and and when it would be unnailed, he would open it and just kind of look in it and not see anything. So he didn't think to further, because he would look into it and not notice anything. So then when things started getting worse, the big turning point was when my dad sprayed our moss fireplace with this beer concoction because it was supposed to like help the moss on the fireplace.
I think my folks did that
Did
too.
your folks
actually.
do that
Yes,
too?
actually.
That's funny. And it was like it would really stink for a while. So we were going to leave for the weekend, and we got home after the weekend, and my dad noticed a gash in it. Like somebody just took a knife and started like carving out a gash. So we called the people that own the house and was like, could anybody have had a key? And they were like, no, no, no. And was this here beforehand? Nope, wasn't there. Like, we don't know. This is weird. And so then my parents were like, something has been going on. We don't know what's going on, but we think somebody has a key to the house and is messing with us. And they were like, nope, we can't think of anything. But a couple of days went by, and they called my dad back, and they were like, we need to apologize. The wife, it's actually the wife's brother, was in prison. And
the owner of the house.
The owner of the house,
Gotcha.
yep. And he had been released, and he had lived with them previously in the house. And nobody told them. And so he was living in our house.
Because he had an extra key.
He knew, yeah, maybe they must have had a key somewhere. I don't know if he had it with him or what, but yeah, he was in the house. And so we changed the locks. And then everything stopped, okay? So this is like, we still don't know what's going on. And in the podcast, it doesn't quite say this, but actually, two things. 2 years went by before we figured out what had happened. 2 years went
So
by.
stuff stopped for
Just stopped.
Just stopped.
And so we were like, okay, weird, but like things stopped. 2 years later, my dad went to like change the insulation in the house. And when you went into that cubby, if you would keep crawling to the end of it, it had a turning point. And then that's when my dad like turned it, and he saw everything. Like he saw the man's sleeping bag, his clothes, all the food, a journal he had been keeping, like everything that he had been
creepy.
like living in it. Yeah.
Wow.
And another thing, like people, like I never really came out. So people said, well, what happened to him? Well, actually, I don't know if you're from Fort Morgan, you will know this. Where Safeway is now, there, the gas station, there used to be a bank there, and it was robbed way back in the day. So shortly after we like forced him out of our house, he robbed the bank.
Because he couldn't get babysitting money
Right.
anymore.
Yes, exactly. He
He's
had to
like,
babysit his own damn
My
kids.
money's been cut off.
And I actually reached out to some of the cops that were involved in when the robbery happened, and they said like this guy was on a mission, that he went in, like it was called an aggressive robbery, in the sense that like he had a couple guns and he was aggressive with the tellers, but they caught him and he went to prison. And then when my story came out, I had somebody reach out to me that was a fan of Radio Rental, and they called themselves a internet angel or something, and they researched him.
Really?
And they found out like his history about like when he went to jail the first time he went to jail, he had shot the brother-in-law and in the house.
Wow.
And
Your
there was-
guys' house?
Yes, the house that we lived in. And there was a search for him for like 3 days. And FBI got involved in everything. And so we went to prison that time. And then after he robbed the bank, when he got pushed out of our house, then he went to prison again. And the people that researched him said that like he eventually just, because I was always like, you know what? I want to talk to him. I want to talk to this guy and be like, what was it like living in our walls? Like, you had to have heard people's conversations. And really, did you come out at night and watch us sleep? Like,
Oh,
what did you do?
That's creepy as
So
shit there.
creepy.
I mean,
But I want to know. I really do.
so
Do you-
what happened to him?
So he went to prison after he robbed the bank in Fort Morgan, and he died there, from what I was told.
Well, thank God he didn't like mess with you girls. Like,
Right.
ugh.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, you're talking about daughters and being scared when they're sleeping.
Yeah, no
There's
kidding.
a strange murderer in the damn attic. That's nuts. You know.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
Well, this is really weird. Like when this happened, and I got the pictures of him offline from the Times, I showed my sisters, and they were all older. And when my sisters were probably around that age, you guys remember Kmart?
of course.
Yeah, they were in. Paula and Wendy had went to Kmart, and they were looking at the records, and a man exposed himself to them at Kmart. And when this happened and I showed them the picture, they were like, "Oh my God, this is the Kmart guy."
No,
That's worse. That's even worse.
It is worse.
He was the guy living in your house, and he's the
Well,
one.
we don't know for a fact, but they both kind of remember him being the guy from Kmart.
Wow.
So maybe he had been following them around town.
Well, I mean, obviously.
Yeah, because he didn't stay in the cubby the whole time. Like, he would come and go. He
God, did
knew
your
when we
dad
were
just
gone.
want to kick some ass?
Yeah.
Like, I bet your dad was like,
Yeah, and like before my dad died and we would talk about it, he would always say, like, I felt bad because, like, in hindsight, like, I should have done more, but like when you're in it, I literally think you can't think, oh, there's somebody in our house.
You were young.
Right, yeah, exactly. So
Crazy.
That's a crazy story.
that's our story about the man that lived in our cubby hole.
Man, that's crazy.
I want to say thank you, Susan Koster, for being such a
That's awesome.
follower of the podcast and all the comments and all the positive energy, man. So that's why I reached out to her. So
I love it.
and that was a great
Thanks,
great
Susan.
pick for a story. We never actually got to hear the whole story on this podcast. We always kind of like told everybody, "Yo, go check this out on Radio Rental." So
Guess where I watched it? I was at the Mav with Ty, and I was watching it. I had it like not loud enough where everybody could hear it, but
Yeah.
I was like, I'm just gonna pop on here for a second, and I totally got like sucked in. I was like, I think I even hey, we got to talk about this on radio.
Yeah, we did talk about
I was
that.
like, man, it was crazy.
when you're talking about on the Radio Rental, though, it starts off like a ghost story.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was going. I had we'd never had this talk before.
You thought it was a ghost?
I came to your house to listen
Oh,
to
yeah,
it.
yeah. I remember that.
You had a listening party or whatever. So that was a great story.
Thanks.
Before we end this, I have a few things. I have a few. Does anybody have any honorable mentions?
I mean,
No.
we've had some great stories.
Yeah. A few that I considered I liked. Episode 17 was Bill Robards. He had the cut to the chase story. Who was you with?
It wasn't me. I was like in Iowa.
It wasn't me.
It was Josh. Was it you? Were you with? Okay. I can't remember who's your with Bill. Anyway,
Wasn't me.
cut to the chase story. Basically, Bill, you think he's in a porno, but it's not. It's a porn star. He gets cast. Yeah, he got cast in a movie, like an independent film, right? And it's with a famous porn star. But the whole time, the people at work thought he was in a porno. They're like going down this dark hole trying to catch Bill, and he was not in a porno.
Oh, my God.
It was
That's
like a-
hilarious. I haven't heard
Been
that
the
one. I need to
vampire
listen.
movie, yeah. Episode 17 was
funny.
great. Episode 24 was Bill Kubik, the 911 story. Another. You were there for this one.
I was there for that one. Yeah.
This one was very serious story about his customer. He worked for I can't remember, an internet company with like routers and stuff.
Oh,
And
yes, I remember.
Yes, where one of the reps called in because the guy had him at gunpoint,
Yes.
and they were sitting there trying to communicate without him knowing that they're communicating with the guy with the gun,
Jeez.
and then he had to go down because the cops kicked the door in
That
and
is a
take this
good
guy.
story.
That was a great story.
Yeah.
This one was you, Dencia, episode 37 with Jen Neb, PUI. It's a story where Jen is drunk in a. Had you heard this one?
No, I haven't heard of that. I
Where
didn't
Jen
catch that one.
Neb is drunk.
She's crazy.
And they won't let her pee inside of a McDonald's because it's COVID. And so she goes to pee on one of their cars, and it's across the street from a cop shop, and they catch her peeing in the car. But it's a great story how she told it. And then the last one's episode 45, Road Trip from Hell with Adrian Vosberg. My buddy's a wrestler. It's a very recent one with Adrian.
Yeah. Yeah, I was there for that one.
It's got no point to it, but it's funny that I made the connection from doing the comedy thing. Like, he travels to do wrestling, and him and his buddies are traveling back there, just got Red Bulls up the ass to where he pulls in this rest stop and someone has shit all over the walls. And he's got to go wake everybody up, like, go come check this out. He's so excited to see this shit Picasso on the wall, you know. So
That's so funny.
those are a few of my honorable mentions. And like I said, there's been so many other great podcast stories on this podcast. Very, very fortunate to have people. And if you want to come do the podcast, we'd love to have you. We'd love to come check it out. You can get a hold of us on thebullhucker.com. There's a contact form there. So please reach out to us. So many times I've heard people tell me that, well, I don't know if I'd be good at that. Or, I don't think I'm interesting. Or I don't think, and those are the people who knock it out of the park almost all the time. We won't let you fail. I am sitting at a table with three people who like to talk.
But just like the thing is with life, like, I love hearing other people's stories,
Yes.
right? Like,
Sure.
we could all sit around and we all know each other, but like, and give us 20 minutes, I'll be like, what? I didn't know
Right,
that.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I love that.
And the crazy thing is, it's at certain times you don't know your story's crazy.
Right.
You're like, I lived it.
Yeah.
Not everybody's family's not like this. What?
I had a few jokes I told on the stage I didn't know were funny jokes until someone started laughing. I'm like, oh, it was a funny story.
Yeah.
But they start, that's an amazing story. And I go, huh. So I turned them into a joke and
Yeah,
it worked.
yeah,
So
right.
everybody's getting a little cold. So we're gonna wrap this up.
It is cold.
So I went through this morning and I did all the stats. All right.
Oh, geez.
I can't wait to hear this.
2021. All right. As for the bullhucker guessing the right stories or not, Matt's not here. So Brett, Missy, Andy, and Jen are all O's. They've not guessed one yet. Oh wait, there's one more. Michelle Staley,
Yeah.
you're 0-3.
No. I told you. I suck.
0-3. Sorry,
Told
man.
you.
Josh Finley 1-1 in 2021, so he's 50%.
Nice.
Batting 500.
So Adam 3-8, man.
I know.
No,
2021 has kicked my ass. I want to see the 2020 stats.
So the crazy thing is, overall, there's only one person that has a positive record in 2021. That's Dencia Kudrin.
Woohoo!
Yep. You finished off 5-4.
What? Seriously?
That's right. And I believe the
Nice
last
work,
one
Dencia.
Get it, girl.
was Ali Schneider's episode that put you over the top where you'd hit 500 and I'd made fun of you. Big boy is 12-19. I'm not kicking ass. We'll do the rock, paper, scissors here. Overall for the bullhucker, I'm at 18-28, so I'm not kicking ass there.
Okay.
Adam is at 10-14. So you came back.
Yeah, see,
You
2020
totally
was
came back.
better.
Overall.
He's got us figured
Dance,
out.
you're 5-4. You didn't do any between with Michelle. You're 0-4. You
I guess this will be the last time you folks will be seeing me.
He said
Hey.
to you one time, I own you. And I was like, he said that to me too. You know what? We need to own him.
Yeah, I know.
You
He's
know
our
what?
bitch.
On the plus side, you're not going to get it wrong tonight. So,
point taken.
Get it, girl.
Josh 2-1, and the rest we've already talked about. Oh, and Matt Gordon 2-0. He's the only unbeaten
Nice,
host.
nice.
Wow.
Obviously,
Matt Gordon. And how do I know that? Because he tells me every time he
you know
sees me.
what? Obviously, Staley and Ty have it made with me because I can't tell the truth out of anything. They've got it easy.
Now, rock, paper, scissors.
Okay.
We're going to go all time on this one, okay? Matt, you're 1-1. Eh. Brett, 1-1. Missy, 1-0. Andy, 0-1. Josh, 2-1. Jen Neb is
Can I
1-1.
redeem myself?
Michelle,
Oh, God, I got to hear it.
1-3. You got one out.
Had a girl.
Let's see. Dencia, 2-7. That's horrible. And I think on
Damn
one
you,
of them,
paper.
I gave you a second run at it. Two of them, I didn't even look as I
Oh,
did
my
it.
God.
I looked away and did it, and I still beat you. Didn't you?
Shut up.
Wait, how do you do this?
Right, exactly.
Mr. Vokey, actually a positive one, 13-11.
Wow.
Although 2021 he was only 4-7, so that was all 2020.
He practiced it a lot.
2020 was when I was going 4 and he was going 3, and so I was throwing rock every time, and I was winning by accident.
Go to Vegas, Adam. Go to Vegas.
I know, right?
In 2021, I was 20-11.
Woo.
I ended up 25-22, so positive on that one. So
Only because of me and Michelle.
No shit. Right.
now, here's the fun one. As we've had the fight over and over, 3 pump versus 4 pump. Okay, who does more? Who does what? Right. So it's been a thing we've asked everyone. Now, I went through in the first episode you and I got in the argument on was yours, episode 9.
Oh.
That's when you stopped and you're like, how many times are we pumping, dude? And I'm like, oh, what the fuck you just said to me, man?
It's a weird terminology.
Yeah, that
It
is
right.
sounds like
Yeah.
it sounds like this.
Yeah. But as I ask people, as they come on, like, how many pumps do you do? And they're like, you sit there.
Yeah.
So, 4 pumpers, 27 people.
Wow.
3 pumpers, 13. You guys got
Oh, we win! Woohoo! Rock, paper,
that took me
scissors, shoot.
all morning watching podcasts. And in the first 2015, or Bill Robards, the first 10 of them, it was like 7-3. I'm like, I'm whooping their ass. Oh man! So it's been one of those things. Once again, check out thebullhucker.com. If you're on YouTube, red button, little red circle on the right hand corner, hit that. It's a subscribe button. Okay, that'll give you any notification of when we release new content on Tuesdays. Little click for you, huge click for us. So please support the podcast. No matter where you're listening to this, on what platform, leave a rating and review. Okay, we really appreciate it. Like I said, this is for fun.
It was fun.
This is friends sitting around listening to stories. So it's a great podcast. It's cold as shit in this theater.
It's so cold. So cold.
We're gonna wrap this up. And once again, I want to thank everybody that's came on and done this podcast in 2021. I know that we got to work around schedules and we got to take time to come do this, but it's been worth it in my eyes. I've really enjoyed it.
Yep.
And I think most people have enjoyed it. Everybody's left, and I always ask them, would you come back and do it? And they're like, in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Even the people that were like, I don't know, like I guilt tripped into doing it, said they come back. So
sometimes you just gotta do it. You gotta go for it.
yeah,
Yep.
I mean that's the hardest part, is getting someone to try it. So and it's local people for the most part in Morgan County, Logan County, anywhere surrounding areas. So it's just normal people with great stories, or just stories of theirs. That's what we want to hear. So I would thank you guys very much. We're hoping to have a great 2022. I hope you guys have a great 2022.
Well, I hope you do too, Larry.
It's so hard to get that out, man. Son of a bitch, 2022.
2022.
It's cold. Let's get out of here. Hey guys, thank you so much for the support, and God bless. And I'm Moose Lundstrom.
Adam Boogie.
Michelle Stan.
Dencia and Michelle.
Peace out.